I was just always tired. I just felt very fatigued. I'm at home during the pandemic and I get this call. And I immediately start to panic because is it good news? Is it bad news? I listen to him and he says, you have lupus.
Welcome to another episode of the Workers Podcast. I'm R. Anderson Edgel. Now in today's episode, we're focusing on an issue that affects many people in our communities, but is still widely misunderstood. That is lupus. At the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union, we believe that workers deserve more than just fair wages and safe workplaces. They deserve understanding, support, and access to information that can improve their quality of life. And that's why we are proud to have established a long-term partnership with the Lupus Association of Antigua and Barbuda to help raise awareness, educate the public, and encourage greater compassion for those living with this condition. Now in today's episode, we're honored to be joined by Margo Mason, who has graciously agreed to share her personal journey with lupus. Through her experiences, we hope to help our viewers and listeners better understand the daily realities of life with lupus. Margo, again, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start at the beginning. Take us back a bit. When did you first realize that something wasn't quite right with your body and how you may have been feeling at the time?
I'll take you back to 6 years ago.
Okay.
So it was in March of 2020, and this was just around the pandemic start. And so, a lot of uncertainty was in the air. And I just realized that I was tired. I was just always tired. I just felt very fatigued. And so I'm not one of those persons that, the doctor doesn't see them for years. Any little thing, I run to the doctor. So I went to my doctor and, he did a physical exam. He spoke to me about how I was feeling. And then he said, you know what, we're going to do some tests. And luckily for me, it was not a very long period of time before I was diagnosed. Some people go years before they could be diagnosed. And I guess my doctor at the time, he was just very in tune with what was happening. He sent me for the correct tests at the time. The test results came back within a week, a couple of days to a week. And then he said, you know what? We need to do another test. I'm going to send this one overseas. It's going to take about 2 weeks, and then I'll call you. So I'm at home during the pandemic, and I get this call. And I immediately start to panic because is it good news? Is it bad news? And I'm thinking, okay, well, it can't be good news because of how I'm feeling. So I listen to him, and he says, you have lupus. And then he started to explain what lupus was, and that was where it started for me.
Okay. So now I'm going to come back a bit to the time when you said you were feeling fatigued. Was there a particular incident or maybe dramatic decline, how you were feeling that took you to the doctor?
So interestingly, I had another autoimmune disease before I was diagnosed with lupus. And that's one of the things about autoimmune diseases. You tend to get them in 2s and 3s. So most people may have more than one autoimmune disease. So at the time, I thought it was the autoimmune disease that I had, the first one. But that was not the case.
Okay. So the doctor calls, he alerted you that this might be the case, or this is the case, you have lupus. What was going through your mind at that time?
At the time, I just said to myself, okay, it is what it is. Most people who know me would say that's something I tend to say. It is what it is. Whatever it is, we're going to deal with it. Certain things you can't change in life. So, you roll with the punches, and this is what it is. do I need medication? Am I going to be okay? Am I dying? Like, there were a lot of questions, but it was a matter of, just listen to the doctor and doing a lot of online research because it was COVID during the time. And lupus is not something that you hear a lot about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though I had heard about lupus before, it's not common, at least not in these parts. When you look at the percentage of the population that may have it, it's not that common. So it was a lot of uncertainty, just feeling tired, I always want to lie down, feeling like, okay, something is not right. This cannot be how I'm going to live the rest of my life. And so it was like, okay, how do I improve? What's next? So that's what was going through my mind.
Okay. So you're thinking, what's next? How do I improve? What sort of advice? Oh, you know what? Tell me, what does lupus look like every day for an individual?
So as you said in the introduction, it is a chronic disease. So it is something we live with every day. And lupus doesn't look the same for every patient. So the symptoms I have, you may not have. For me, it was a lot of fatigue, tiredness, like bone deep tiredness. You sleep 8 to 10 hours, you wake up and you feel like you didn't sleep for days. There's a lot of joint pains. There's a lot of, from one day to the next, or even during the same day, you don't know how you feel just changes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to overexert yourself. You don't want to commit yourself to activities because of how you feel, or you don't want to put your body through too much because you don't want to start flaring up. So it's not an easy disease to live with. It's a very painful disease.
Yeah.
And as I said, some people have worse symptoms than others. Luckily, I'm still able to work. But when you join a lot of these online discussions or a lot of podcasts, and you listen and you follow social media groups, and you realize a lot of people are suffering a lot worse than I am. So I give God thanks for where I'm at and for the journey that I've had, because it could be a whole lot worse.
So I know you said it could be a lot worse. In terms of work, how has it impacted that aspect of your life?
It's been challenging. I have been trying to maintain work to a point where I'm trying for it not to affect work too much. But my employer has been somewhat gracious in the sense that they have allowed me to be able to, if I wanted to work from home on a particular day, I could. If I wanted to move my location, so right now I have to climb stairs. If I wanted to move and I wanted to be on the ground floor, they would facilitate something like that. My job is a very demanding, physically demanding job. So I tend to kind of rely on some of my coworkers to help with some of the more physical aspects of the job. But, you take it one day at a time.
Now, as I would have indicated in the introduction, sometimes this condition is referred to as an invisible illness, in the sense that someone can look perfectly fine, but is still struggling with this condition. How do you manage or deal with that side of it? Because I suppose some people might look at you and think you're fine, but at the same time, so it leads to some misunderstanding and so on. How have you been navigating that aspect of living with this condition?
Even family members, sometimes they may say, oh, but you're always sick, or you always say you don't feel well. It is an invisible disease. A lot of times there's no outward appearance to what is happening, the turmoil that's happening on the inside of you. But, you sometimes have to, if you want to, depending on how the relationship you have with people, you really try to explain, okay, this is what is happening. Just give me a little grace for right now, or
Okay.
I'm not feeling well right now. I know I have whatever. If it's for work related, I have these deadlines. Give me an extra day, or there, you can't push the body further than it is going to go.
Correct. Correct.
So it is what it is.
Your tagline.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about support. Now, I know there is the Lupus Association of Antigua and Barbuda. Talk to us a bit about how that organization has been a support through this trying illness.
So I joined the Lupus Association at the beginning of this year, and they have been very helpful for me. It is a very supporting community. The association, most of the lupus patients, because there are persons in the association who do not have lupus, so there are persons who are there to help support those of us who do have it. And most of the patients are females, even though there are males in Antigua that do have it, but for some reason they're not part of the association as yet. But for the women, it's very nurturing. It's more like a sisterhood, and it's very comforting knowing that you can talk to people who understand what you're going through. It's one thing when your family members may want to support you, but they don't have the symptoms, they don't know the challenges that you have. You can explain, but for somebody to walk in the same shoes as you, it's a different feeling. And so, to be able to have comfort and solace and a lot of information sharing, networking with other medical professionals that some of the other members of the association may be in tune with, it is really helpful.
Okay.
It is helpful.
Okay. What would you want our audience to understand most about lupus and living with this condition?
It is not an easy disease to live with. As I mentioned to you before, it can be a very painful disease. It could be a very isolating disease to live with because, as I said, you're suffering in silence.
Yeah.
It is not contagious.
Okay.
That is something that I would want to put out there. It is not contagious. And sickness is for everybody. You may not get lupus, but something else may happen to you. And we need to learn to give each other grace. We need to be more of a caring community and ask questions. You don't need to pry, but just ask questions, and persons may open up, and then you will be able to understand really what is happening.
So I'm listening, and I think I'm getting a greater understanding of what the experience is like with lupus. But I imagine also that even though there are difficult days, there are also good days. What does a good day look like for someone who's living with lupus?
A good day.
Yeah.
A good day is a day when you wake up and you're able to move off your bed. Sometimes, some people, they lay in bed all day. Or they lay in bed for like the first hour or so. A lot of the joint pains tend to happen the earlier part of the day. And so, if you can bounce out of bed and carry on with your daily activities in as minimal pain and stress as possible, then that's a good day. Lupus patients also suffer with a lot of brain fog.
Yeah.
So sometimes we forget things. Give us grace, it's not an easy disease, but with the right medication and changes to our lifestyle, we can, live productive lives.
Could you go into detail a bit more about that? You said changes in your lifestyle. So there are things that you can do on your own that improves the condition.
Okay, so there's certain things that are recommended not to eat.
Okay.
So things like garlic. For some people, it doesn't bother, but you have to find what is the sweet spot for you. There's certain things that they recommend you not eat. Nightshade, vegetables. Certain things ramp up your immune system, like echinacea, these kind of things that you see everybody advertising. Oh, you need to take echinacea because you need to ward off the flu or whatever. Certain things is not for everybody. So those certain foods that you may eat may ramp up and create too much inflammation in your body.
Okay.
And that's when you have flares.
Yeah.
And the flares come with all the symptoms, right? So ideally, you would want to stay in remission. You want to stay where you have a healthy lifestyle. You want to try and do some exercising because that helps to ward off the inflammation as well. Depending on who you talk to, because there are a lot of natural remedies. Some people don't do the conventional, medication.
Yeah.
And they want to do the more natural path. You still need to stay in tune with your body. Pay attention to, can I still eat bread? Is gluten going to affect me? Like, there are certain dietary changes that you have to do. And as I said, you need to get rest. You have to limit your stress levels. You have to stay out of the sunlight.
Okay.
Sometimes even in the office or even in your house, the type of lighting that you have, that could also trigger you. So there are certain things that you need to pay attention to.
Excellent. And I'm glad that we're having this conversation because we're learning so much. And learning, sharing, communication helps with understanding. And of course, that's one of the goals that we have, to build greater understanding.
Correct.
Among our communities so that we can be more gracious.
Yes, indeed.
As you said,
Indeed.
In handling or in caring for and receiving individuals who are struggling with this condition. So now we're a workers' organization at the Antigua and Barbuda Workers Union. If hypothetically you had a group of employers in the room, what would you say to them about being more accommodating, more understanding to employees who may be living with this disease?
There could be a couple things that employers could do. Sometimes lupus patients the body temperature runs different, right? So making sure that the environment is cool, not overly cold, because sometimes we tend to get cold pretty easily.
Okay.
Maybe if they are at a desk job, maybe ergonomic setup, just to make it a little bit more comfortable. They could also consider, maybe the employee may not be able to work full time. Would you make allowances for part-time employment?
Okay, yeah.
Would you make allowances for, as I said earlier, maybe you could work from home.
Work from home, yes.
Those are, I think, basic things that they could consider. Employers, I'm sure employees would appreciate those type of allowances.
Okay, excellent, fantastic. Now, if an audience member is listening and they may be concerned or, wondering, am I possibly maybe suffering from lupus? What are some of the first steps that they could take?
They should go and see their doctor. It's not a lot of prodding and all of that. It's blood tests.
Okay.
So some of the blood tests are not necessarily available in Antigua, so they may have to send away. So it may take 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so before you get back the results. There's a lot of online resources, so you could read up on it. Don't let your imagination run away with you. And if you are diagnosed, there is support with the Lupus Association of Antigua and Barbuda. And so we have a Facebook page. the Lupus Association of Antigua and Barbuda. So feel free to reach out, and we can always, answer any questions, give you some level of support that you may need. But definitely, first step, just go and see the doctor. Explain to them what you're feeling, how you're feeling, how long it's been going on, and then they'll take it from there.
Excellent. And as we wind this conversation down, tell me, what keeps you positive? What keeps you hopeful, living, in spite of living with a condition like this?
Persons live with lupus for years and years and years. And so God isn't ready for me as yet. So I have to make the most of the time here. It doesn't make sense to complain. It doesn't make sense to be moping around the place. It doesn't make sense to stay locked up in your house.
Yeah.
And, wallow in pity, in self-pity. You still have to live life. And so, just I'm trying to navigate what's the best way to still feel well and still try to participate in life, still be active in the community, still do things.
Excellent. Ms. Margo Mason, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Workers Podcast and sharing your story of living with lupus. Thank you once again.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Viewers and listeners, you've been watching another episode of the Workers Podcast. I'm R. Anderson Edgel, and thank you so much for joining us. See you next time.